Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Goldfinch. The Goldfinch is one of my favorite books, and since I read it last year, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. Like, I've just been thinking about it, and I've had like so many ideas and concepts like in my head that I wanted to write about and talk about. So we're gonna be doing that in this video. I read this last year and I was very pleasantly surprised because it went up in my list of like books that I really liked. And I read this book as a continuation to The Secret History, which I have here, The Secret History. And I know you're not supposed to do that. The Goldfinch was a separate book from The Secret History, but I read The Secret History and I liked it. So I went with the same like mentality that it was going to have like the same, I don't know, the same theme, the same something, I don't know, the same vibe, I guess. And I was very pleasantly surprised when this literally took me just 2 months to finish, considering how thick it is. But I was very happy. I loved this book, and comparing it to my experience reading The Secret History, it's quite telling because like The Secret History is like half the size, like half the pages of compared to the Goldfinch, and this book put me on a book slump. I was not able to finish this book. It took me the whole year. I read it like 2 years ago, and it took me the whole year to finish The Secret History. And I think it took me that long, not because I did not like the book or because I found it boring, but more like it was just not the time. It was not the time. It was not the moment to, I don't know, it just didn't fit my moment in my life. So yeah, I'm going to talk about some concepts and ideas and things that I just want to say and let it out because they have been running in my head for too long. So yeah, I'm going to be looking at this side, and also I'm going to be reading from here because here is where I have my computer here and I have written things, so I don't want to forget anything. So I'm going to be looking here for some time. Okay, we're gonna start with the first one. The first one is life versus death. The painting of the Goldfinch represents many things throughout the book. I'm gonna put the painting here for the time being. While I'm talking about the painting, I'm gonna put the painting here so you guys can see what I mean. So metaphorically, the Goldfinch represents the life that, oh my god, I forgot to say, this video is going to contain spoilers, a lot of spoilers of this book. So if you have not read the book and you want to, then please click off this video because I will be talking about a lot of stuff that happens in this book. And if you don't want to read the book, then continue. Okay, so metaphorically, the Goldfinch painting represents the life that Theo had before the attack, before the explosion. It represents the good things. It represents life itself. And it's also said in the book that the Goldfinch is his mom's favorite painting. And in the scene where they're in the museum, they first of all see the painting called Lessons of Anatomy or Anatomy Lesson, and that painting is supposed to represent death. But then they move on to the Goldfinch, what represents life. So that being his mom's favorite painting, him physically taking the painting away represents him holding on to that life, holding on to his mother, basically. And then descriptively, like the painting, aesthetically, the Goldfinch, the bird, is attached to a wall by a chain. That could represent him holding on to his mother. I kind of had two, how do you call it, like two ideas, two diverging conclusions. That one, it could be Theo himself, like the bird could represent Theo himself chained to his past. And two, it could be his mother. What do I mean by that? I'm gonna read it because it's explained better the way I wrote it. The bird could be himself trapped in that little frame of a past life, or it could be his mom. In that case, he chained her with his own willingness to let go, and which meaning that he cursed her. And I wanted to talk about this idea of the person cursing instead of the dead cursing the person. So in Jujutsu Kaisen, it's an animation. The protagonist, Yuta, curses his friend because he sees her die. Yuta curses his friend as a result of the trauma of seeing her die, and that stumps his growth and capability to move on with his life. So that's what I mean with Theo cursing his mom into the painting, and the bird is Theo's mom. Yeah, the bird represents Theo's mom, and he cursed her to be trapped in the painting, which represents goodness and life and everything good before the attack. Okay, that's what I get there. The inability to progress, the inability to progress is shown and emphasized in the book when the arrival of spring comes. Like spring comes, the city's waking up, everybody, the sun is coming out, the birds are chirping and everything, but Theo is still in shock. Like he is not appreciating, like he describes it, but in such a detached way, and he is still experiencing the death of his mother. He's still experiencing the shock of his mother not being there. And I think that's a way also of just like saying that he's still there, and he's going to be there for quite a while. Also I'm having a hard time explaining this, but we also see the way he seeks relationship with women. That is shown in the book when he seeks women from his past. It's just always women that revolve around the life that he had when he was a child. We have Pipa or Pipa. I don't know how to pronounce her name. We have Pipa. We have Kitsy, and then we have the other women that he had like flings with, we'll say, but those were not stable. Pipa and Kitsy are the two women that were there before as children with him in the past when the incident took place. And I think in some way they're a substitute for his mother. Like we all know that Theo has severe mommy issues, and he substitutes Kitsy and Pippa with his mother, and he has a very distinctive kind of loving style. Like it's not love, it's more like infatuation, deep infatuation, and just obsession with this woman. He does not, the way he describes Piper sometimes in the book there's a passage where he talks about Piper's feet in almost like an obsessive way, and he's just obsessed with Piper. He has like this fantasy in his head about their life and what they should be, and then when he moves on from Piper to Kitsy, it's still the same thing. He doesn't love her. And I think that his way of like obsessing over those two women in specific, is like his way to cover, like, I don't know how I said it, like his way to conceal his very obvious affection towards Boris. Moving on to salvation. Salvation comes in the form of Hobie. Hobie and his shop are like there to save him as a child, save him from spiraling and from, going down the wrong path as a child. I am of the opinion that Donna Tartt chose restoration as a craft that Theo becomes interested in as justification for escapism. Restoration is his maladaptive daydreaming. Yeah, that's what I think. That the way in which he uses restoration and fixing things is his way of escaping, is his way of channeling all the anger and hurt and sadness that he has. And in the act of fixing and mending things and reconstructing things, he is in a way fixing his life. He fantasizes about fixing his life the same way he fixes, like the same way he fixes chairs or commodes and stuff like that. For Hobie, restoration is an act of caring, is an act of love. He cares for these things as they age. And he has admiration for the things that age, that have survived the test of time. And it's the same way he takes care of Theo. It's the same way he takes care of the commodes and chairs and the things that he fixes is the same way that he takes care of Theo. And on the other hand, Theo, like, for him, it's frozen. Like, he's in a stasis. He's not moving forward. He's not fixing things, and it's not helping him. It's not helping him, really. He just wants things to remain the same. He thinks of restoration as bringing back something that is broken to be the same. Like, it's not, I'm fixing this thing because I like it and I love it and I want it to, I want other people to experience it. No, it's, I'm fixing this because I want it to go back to the way it was. I'm fixing this because I want it to go back to the way it was. Yep. Okay, here I wanted to make like a sub point to the point. I want to talk about the relationships, the mirroring relationships between Hobie and Theo and Julian and Henry. I think both relationships are very similar in a way of like mentor and pupil, and Donna Tartt using that concept of tragic incidents that mark your life. For example, Henry had his car crash, and then he was taken in by Julian, and Julian was mentoring him and showing him things and teaching him the same way that Theo had this attack and this incident, and then he's taken by Hobie, and Hobie's teaching him about restoration and stuff like that. And I think it's very similar, and it made me think about what would have been the case if, like, instead of someone like Julian, Henry met someone like Hobie. It would have been very, very interesting. It would have been quite an interesting story, honestly. I would read that. And I also wanted to talk about their styles of mentoring. Julian is very strict. He's very, like, he has this like holier than thou aura about him, and he almost, in a way, he dictates. He doesn't mentor, he doesn't suggest, he doesn't like, it's like, I'm telling you to do this, do that, like, it's a very, the power imbalance is very noticeable. Is what I mean. And you can see that he wants the pupil to be exactly like him, that what he considers to be correct is law. Meanwhile, Hobie is more like nurturing. He's more like mentoring, suggesting. He wants the best for you. It's like more, yeah. The next point that I want to talk about is belief systems. What I noticed in the Goldfinch, throughout the books, is that like different characters represent different philosophical concepts. And the three characters that caught my attention more were his father, Hobie, of course, and Boris. We're going to start with Hobie first. Okay, I'm gonna read. Hobie is quite the optimistic character. He's mostly cheering up others and takes his time. Hobie is the one that inculcates the love of art and history into Theo. So, what I mean by this is that he is the optimistic character. He is the one that always thinks of better. Like, he's the one that always thinks of good. When Theo, when Theo tells Hobie what he has been doing with his duplications and imitations, Hobie is angry, rightfully so. He's angry, but at the same time, he has in his heart to forgive Theo and to find a solution to make it better. And he is the one that makes Theo appreciate, the life that he has. And so yeah, the next one is his father. His father is the materialistic force in the book. He is clearly depicted as a money-hungry, vain, and abusive man. This force comes into play in Theo's scamming gig, love for money, and survival mode living. And I think that this is quite sad. It is quite sad, because if Theo hadn't gone with his dad to Las Vegas, I don't think he would have, felt the need, or would have ended up the way he did, or would have done all that scamming disaster that happened, because I think he learned that behavior from his dad. His dad was technically a scammer, and he did all these things. He was, what do you call it? I forgot the name, but the thing where you can, betting. Yes, his dad used to bet and all that stuff, and he was having problems with the mafia or with gangs and money problems and all that stuff. And I think that translated into Theo's character as well. Boris embodies the question of existentialism / absurdism in the book. And he questions the good and the bad, the existence of God, and why he allows evil. And in the book, in the Vegas arc, he mentions the book of The Idiot by Dostoevsky. The Idiot is mentioned a lot. In the book of The Idiot by Dostoevsky, Boris, he tries to justify his way of living. The absurdistic way of living with the book of The Idiot, saying that the protagonist, Mishkin, does a lot of good things in his life, does a lot of good deeds, and he's good, and he, does good things, but in the end, it all ends up in disaster. Like, nothing good comes out of doing good. And he uses that to justify why he stole the painting from Theo. And he just says, well, the opportunity makes the thief. I don't know how to say it, but because I have the Spanish copy, and I think in Spanish is la ocasión hacia el ladrón. La ocasión hacia el ladrón, which means like the opportunity makes the thief. And so he's saying basically that because he saw it, he just took it. There's no other deeper meaning. And he uses the book of The Idiot to just justify why he did that. And also, I think, it's very clear in the book that Boris influences very, very hardly the use of drugs and drinking onto Theo, and how he ends up, addicted to drugs, basically, throughout most of his adult life, like from 13 until almost the end of the book. I don't remember how old they were, but he's like 28, I think 28, 29. So yeah. So all this belief systems, all these things throughout the book, they keep affecting Theo. They keep shaping him. All these systems come together to build Theo as we, the readers, know him. His zest for life keeps dimming as circumstances keep hitting each harder than the last. However, towards the end of the book, he gains his own view of life, which unfortunately is quite nihilistic. Yes. And I wrote here page 706. My copy is in Spanish, so I'm gonna try and translate. Oh my god. Okay. Oh, isn't he cute? Children screaming and playing in the park without any care in the world about their futures in hell that awaited them. Boring jobs, ruined mortgages, horrible married life, hair loss, hip transplants, and solitary cups of coffee in a empty house with frequent visits to the hospital. And the majority of the people seem so satisfied with this kind of life. Entertainments and procedures that people use to try to forget who they were and where they were. But behind all that intense light, there wasn't any positive interpretation that I could make. Everything was rotten from head to toe. Doing hours in an office, trying to reach your 2.5 percentage, smiling politely in your retirement party, It's better to have not been born. To wish nothing. It's better to have nothing, to have hoped for nothing. Yeah, quite depressing. I hope I said it. I hope it wasn't that choppy. It was choppy, but I tried to translate it as I was reading. So yeah, it is quite a very dark view on life, but all this comes as a result of everything that happened to him till that point. And okay, so the final topic that I want to talk about is love of art. So the book ends with a monologue in which Theo is talking about art. The idea that the love of art / things is the purest form of love there is. It transcends time and hate and sadness. The love of others has kept the art alive through time. Then it is most true. So yeah, what I'm just saying is that the most purest of love that there is, or what the book is trying to say, is that the most purest form of love that there is the love of art, because the love of art has made art prevail through the times. We have museums because people love art and preserved those things. We have, archaeology, all these things. People preserved all this art and objects and all these things because they loved art. Because in the book, it's also discussed that beauty by itself, it's meaningless. It has to have a purpose. It can't just be beauty. And it also ties in, because it's very interesting that Donna Tartt explores this theme in this book, because in The Sacred History, it's the opposite. The love of beauty by itself is what led to their ruin. They loved beauty. Beauty, I don't know the quote, but yeah, beauty is I forgot the quote, but what is the mother of beauty? Terror, or something like that. I don't know who says it, but I think Bunny says it. And it says, terror is the mother of beauty. So beauty by itself just brings terror. It brings nothing. is just vanity and vain. But beauty with the purpose of preserving, beauty because you love it, because it has a history behind it and you want to keep it. That is what Donna Tartt is talking about. That is the purest form of love. Beauty with purpose breeds love. And so yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Okay, so yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you guys for watching this video. I'm sorry if it was a little bit all over the place, because this is my first time making like a video essay. It's not a video essay, but it's still like some kind of analysis. Okay guys, bye.